There's this guy named Styles. Styles is in some deep trouble. He's been accused of a murder he swears up and down he didn't commit. But despite being honest, religious, and a downright honorable soldier, he's staring down the barrel of a needle filled with death. Just as Styles is about to be injected with the lethal dose, a priest shows up and asks him to confess his sins. But Styles, being the stand-up guy that he is, insists he's innocent. But does anyone listen? Nope. They pump him full of whatever concoction they brewed up for him. Styles, against all odds, wakes up. He wakes up after being injected with death. Since Styles was a military man before all this mess went down, the powers that be decided to give him a choice. Option number 1, submit yourself to a medical experiment. They want to use him as a guinea pig for who knows what kind of crazy science experiment. And it involves a whole lot of alien DNA. Styles went from facing death to facing, well, who knows what. But one thing's for sure, his life just got a whole lot more complicated. Enter Dr. Crystal. Now this lady's got nerves of steel, but when she lays eyes on Styles, her hands are shaking like a leaf in the wind. Why? Because she's bought into the whole media circus surrounding Styles, painting him as some kind of monster who's offended 11 innocent folks. But Styles, being the straight shooter that he is, sets the record straight. He tells Crystal he's innocent, that he only did what he was ordered to do when he was on duty. He's been set up like a bowling pin in a rigged game, framed for crimes he didn't commit, all because of some political agenda. Now, you'd think Crystal would at least give him the benefit of the doubt, right? Wrong again. She's too caught up in the frenzy to see the truth staring her right in the face. But Styles, ever the optimist, tries to appeal to her humanity. He tells her that if she believes him, maybe her hands will stop shaking. But does she listen? No. She's too busy poking and prodding, taking samples of his hair, blood, and skin like he's some kind of a lab rat. And when Styles tries to get some answers about these mysterious experiments they've got lined up for him, Crystal clams up tighter than a clam in a clamshell. She's got no answers for him, leaving him in the dark about what's in store. Turns out, there's some bigwig in charge of this whole shebang, and he's got some wild ideas brewing. Like, seriously wild. We're talking aliens here, people. Dr. Crystal's handed an alien sample on a silver platter and told to work her magic. But get this, they want her to make Styles' DNA compatible with this otherworldly stuff. They want to turn Styles into an alien. But it's all top secret, and Dr. Crystal, bless her heart, she's caught between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, she's got her orders, but on the other, she's staring down the barrel of potentially turning a human being into something straight out of a UFO sighting. And just when you think things couldn't get any crazier, in walks General Bigwig himself. Now, you'd think that he'd have some sympathy for poor old Styles, right? Wrong again. See, back when Styles was a soldier, he had this little thing called integrity. He didn't just follow orders blindly like some mindless drone. He had a conscience, and he wasn't afraid to use it. And now, that very same quality that made him a stand-up guy is the reason they're trying to stick him with alien DNA. Dr. Crystal, with ears wide open, listens in on the conversation between General Bigwig and Styles. And let me tell you, she's in for a shocker. Turns out, Styles didn't commit the murder he's accused of. But before Dr. Crystal can process this bombshell, the General drops another bomb. Details about the experiment. Styles, poor guy, never saw this coming. He used to trust the General, though they were on the same team. And just when you think it can't get any worse, the General starts showing signs of remorse. He's practically on the verge of tears, listening to Styles pour his heart out. But despite the General's guilt and pity, it's time to say goodbye. And as he exits the room, leaving Styles to face his fate, Dr. Crystal prepares to inject him with who knows what. Styles, clutching a Bible to his chest, finds it in himself to forgive Dr. Crystal for what she's about to do. And with that, the deed is done. Dr. Crystal, with a steady hand and a heavy heart, injects Styles without a second thought. Styles wakes up in agony, vomiting and writhing in pain. The doctors rush in, injecting him again and again, but it's no use. Styles is in too deep, his body breaking out in a painful mess. Dr. Crystal, still reeling from the shock of losing Styles, finds herself in a moment of unexpected joy. Surprisingly, Styles wakes up, gaining consciousness against all odds. Dr. Crystal, being the brilliant mind that she is, realizes something incredible. Styles' heart has moved, changed places, and starts pulsing again. Styles isn't feeling the pain he used to feel. The doctors and generals are left scratching their heads in disbelief. In the next scene, Dr. Crystal spills the beans about Styles' newfound abilities to the man leading the experiment. She lays it all out on the table. Styles has 3 times the ability to adapt to new things than your average Joe, and he's got 5 times the strength to boot. Oh, and did we mention he can hear what they're saying from a mile away? So as soon as Styles breaks free from his cage, the hunt is on. He's on the run, darting through the woods like a wild animal. But even in the midst of all this chaos, he finds a moment of clarity. Staring into the reflection of the river, he reminds himself of a simple truth. They can change his body, but they can't touch his soul. Meanwhile, the military force behind Styles is hot on his trail. He pulls a daring move, kidnapping one of the soldiers and snatching his radio. He calls up the general, letting him know that he's not going to spill any blood. He knows they set him up, and he's not about to play their twisted game. Dr. Crystal alone in her tent, when suddenly, out of the blue, Styles appears. But before she can make a peep, Styles puts a finger to her lips, silencing him. She starts to apologize to Styles, telling him she had no idea what they were planning to do to him. But Styles, ever the gentleman, reassures her. He believes her, and that's all that matters. But just as quickly as he appeared, Styles is ready to vanish into the night. He tells Dr. Crystal he needed to hear her say those words before he left. And when she catches up to him, she lays it all on the line. She tells him she might be able to reverse the transformation, make him human again. But Dr. Crystal, she's not one to give up easily. She tells him she'll do everything in her power to make the human gene dominant again. So they make a plan. Styles gives her a time and a place to meet him the next day, promising to come alone. And Dr. Crystal, she assures him she'll be there. And let me tell you folks, it's a promise she intends to keep. Styles meets up with Dr. Crystal, but he's not taking any chances. He's got a gun in hand, wary that someone might be following her. But when the doctor brings out the injection, Styles notices something off. Her hands shaking like a leaf in the wind. So he asks her straight up, is this injection gonna turn him back into a human? But Dr. Crystal, bless her heart, she can't bring herself to lie. She tells him the truth, that the injection she's about to give him is a sedative that could kill him. Now, you'd think Styles would lose his cool, right? Wrong. Instead, he surprises everyone by letting her go unharmed. But Dr. Crystal, she's beside herself with guilt. She tries to apologize, but Styles ain't having it. And just when you think things couldn't get any crazier, in walks the general, ready to put an end to this whole mess. But Styles, he ain't backing down. He stands tall, shouting to the heavens that he hasn't failed. Styles, standing tall in the face of danger, doesn't fight back. Instead, he raises his hands, ready to face whatever fate has in store for him. But just as the generals are about to pull the trigger, a strange sound fills the air. It's like nothing they've ever heard before, folks. It's so piercing, so intense, that it sends them all reeling. They can't resist it, can't even stay on their feet. And just when they think they can't take it anymore, aliens start to appear out of thin air. One of the aliens, with eyes as friendly as can be, approaches Styles. He puts a hand on Styles' shoulder, and in the blink of an eye, they're gone. The other aliens vanish just as quickly as they appear, leaving everyone in shock. The generals, they're happy, thinking they've won. They failed the test. The aliens set this whole thing up to see if humans are truly good at heart. Like and subscribe for more. Catch you next time.